Right, hey, how you doing?
Subscribe now, that'd be great.
Gavin here from Hologram Productions, and today we're going to be focusing on how to make the music of Aphex Twin. No time like the present for a shameless plug, but I'd like to draw your attention to an EP that I made called The Mechanic, where I made a bunch of tracks which were strongly inspired by the style of Aphex Twin, and you can listen to this at your leisure. So I decided that other than just remaking a single track, I think that the thing that this video is going to focus on is primarily how to construct Aphex Twin's famous drum. We're going to do this in three ways. Way one is to put a bunch of sounds on a drum rack. So I'm going to find a bunch of metallic sounding sounds and then put them all into the drum rack. I think we'll need about 8. Yep, just working my way through sounds of metallic banging and clanging and finding things I like. Then I also want to find a bunch of 808 toms and things like that, because Aphex Twin uses an awful lot of those. So yeah, find them, drag them in. And the first thing you need to do is identify the transients which you want to use. So drag and close in on the individual transients that you want, and do this for each individual sound. Let's just fast forward to this boring process. I only want the lows coming through on the kick, so I'm going to high pass every other sound, which is painstaking, but it's necessary. I'm going to draw on a basic MIDI for the kick. Now let's do some sound design on the kick. I'm going to pull off all the highs, then throw on a drum bus, tighten the transients, increase the drive and the crunch, and also a bit of boom for the bass. Then I want to put an envelope filter on the sound itself all the way up to 72, pull the filter down, and you get a proper digital sounding kick. Now let's throw on some other sounds. Do this randomly initially, see what you like, make sure no two hits hit at the same time. Now we need this to sound less stiff, so we're going to go into the individual sounds and alter the parameters. Let's put this on loop, and then lower the attack and decay so you get this nice fuzzy, springy sound. Duplicate the bar to make it longer and add some variety in the MIDI hits. Let's start messing around with more individual sounds. Let's take a look at this hit, put on loop, and then again shorten the decay and sustain because I like fuzzy sounds, which is very Aphex Twin. Now affect the LFO, let's affect the pitch, and let's put it onto square algorithm, so therefore you get these random blip sounds. Time to add a bunch of audio effects that you can manipulate on the macros. Group them all together. So what have we got? We've got auto filter, we've got frequency shifter, echo and delay. So we put all the most important parameters on the macros, including the filter, the shifter, the EQ dry wet, the rate dry wet on both sides. This is the thing that's just going to create some really interesting crazy sounds. And also the reverb. So that's the reverb on full, playing around with the filter, play around with the frequency shifter, turn off the filter, listen to the things you can do with the echo. You turn up the dry wet and then you turn down the rate and you create these springy sounds. Fabulous. And using the loop rater plugin, you can also add an awful lot of loops and randomness. This is a great thing to have. Time to get even more surgical. I'm going to add a saturator for the kick, but I'm going to make sure that I can manipulate this parameter individually, specifically for the kick. I also want to manipulate the transposition and the loop for the kick. So see the things we can play around with. See, lots of variety with the kick. Continue adding more variety. We're going to add an LFO plugin, and we're going to attach that to the transposition of one of the toms, so it's always different. Add another LFO to another tom, and again we attach it to the transposition. Different every single time. Starting to get that absolute chaos going. Another bit of randomness is we're going to put a delay on one of the toms. Have the dry wet up. And we're going to attach the rate to an LFO. But just lower the depth because we don't want it too wild. Just keep it somewhere in the middle. You're starting to hear how there's endless possibilities here. You see, already that just sounds insane. And trust me, this is hours of fun, guys. Just playing around with the macros. You could do this for like 20 minutes. Okay, how to build a drum rack version 2. Get a long audio sample of random electronic sound effects. Drag it into Simpler. And then draw a random MIDI. And then you want to go to slice mode. And this basically creates a drum rack already. And again, straight away you've got something that sounds pretty good without even any audio manipulation. Just cut off the lows there. Let's control it using warp. Go to beats and lower the transients. So they're very, very short transients. Okay, version 3. Find a drum and bass beat. Any will do. Take it. Drag it into audio. Then you're going to slice it to new MIDI using the transients built in. Click OK. And now you can create your own MIDI lines. So just randomly click in some MIDI and you have your own manipulatable drum rack. Okay, let's do some stuff. I'm going to steal a sample directly from an Aphex Twin original, the bouncing ball track. Hone in on that one bouncing ball sound effect. We're going to create what's known as an exponential rhythm. So just lock into the sample exactly. Create a MIDI line which is a full bar long. Activate the loop and set the length of the loop to the macro. Now go into the MIDI clip, open up the envelope section and then create the following curve for the length envelope. So it speeds up gradually because the loop line closes in, as you can see. Add the echo audio effect, add the frequency shifter audio effect and put all of them assigned to a different macro. So now you can assign the echo and now you can manipulate the parameters to create some craziness. Duplicate the instrument and add an 808 kick and do the same thing with the loop and the length and the envelope so they both happen at the same time. Play this at the same time as the beat we've already made, you get some real craziness. I'm going to create an interesting ambient texture using some banging pans. Slow it down, put the transposition down, and you can play it on one note and then one immediately lower. I want to create some effects using some Vox. This is a line of some random person talking, and then I just create a beat using that sound. You can just literally attach this anywhere and it sounds like a cool beat. A lot of the weird sounds that Aphex Twin creates are based on random samples as opposed to digital instruments. Now it's time just to add a lead. Let's make a basic analog saw pluck sound. Drum bus in order to thicken it, glue compressor in order to tighten it, and a bit of room reverb. Now I want to create a pad. Square wave this time. With a little bit of attack and a short decay. Use two oscillators, the second oscillator transposed up 7 semitones because Aphex Twin always likes fifths. And a low bass note as well. Use a lot of reverb to thicken it up. Sounding pretty cool. before I play the arrangement, a little bit more stuff I wanted to add. That sound effects line from YouTube, I plugged that in and I quantized it. I also found this bleep bleep sound, which will happen when everything else is muted in order to give it a bit of contrast. I also created a few drum sounds using random samples, and the intro has this drum sound made from metal twanging sounds, and then the EQ slowly pulls in. And again with the vocal sample, it starts a bit like this to give it a bit of a vocal style beat. Okay, let's listen to the full arrangement. Samples are available on Bandcamp. Most important thing whenever you're making Aphex Twin music is embrace the crazy. So I hope that there's been some techniques in there that you can take and reapply to make your own style of IDM. So don't forget to subscribe because there's more cool videos coming. See you then.